Hey guys, this is Jeff from Spotlight Scoop. Are you ready to ruin your entire week? If so, we have 10 of the most disturbing, underrated movies you can watch for free right now. We're talking movies so messed up you'll question your life choices and maybe humanity itself. So buckle up because this list gets weird, like woman gets pregnant by a car weird. Let's get going. All right, so first up on our list, we have 4 of the Apocalypse. Now, I know what you're thinking. Cool, a Western. Maybe some cowboy shootouts and tumbleweeds, right? No, not at all. This is not that. This is from the same guy who brought us zombies ripping apart people like they're eating fried chicken. So take all those Western vibes you were expecting and throw them straight into a wood chipper. This is like if Clint Eastwood directed a horror film after binge watching The Walking Dead and lost all faith in humanity. It's dark, it's gritty, and if you think Westerns can't make you feel gross, you really need to rethink that. The director basically said, what if a Western, but we make it deeply unsettling? And somehow he pulls it off. The characters, absolutely broken. The story, it's brutal. The vibes, straight up hopeless. If you're looking for a feel-good story about good guys versus bad guys and having a duel at high noon, this is not the movie for you. But if you want to see what happens when a director, famous for zombie guts, decides to set a story in the Wild West, then For the Apocalypse will definitely scratch that very specific, probably concerning itch you have. But if that wasn't enough to make you double-check the locks on your door, wait till you hear about a movie that makes anxiety feel like a contagious disease. Next up, we have She Dies Tomorrow, also known as What If a Panic Attack Was a Film. This one starts with a woman who is convinced she's going to die tomorrow. No reason, no big reveal, just pure, creeping dread, and then it starts to spread. Like everyone she talks to suddenly catches the vibe and starts spiraling out of control too. It's like if Contagion was directed by a therapist who's having a breakdown. The movie's less about action and more about that stick to your stomach tension, which, if you're like me, you already have. So congrats, this movie's about to double it. Now, fair warning, this is more of an artsy one. If you're looking for explosions and jump scares, She Dies Tomorrow is not your girl. But if you want something that's trippy, slow, and makes you stare at your ceiling at 2 a.m. wondering what the point of life is, this one delivers. It's got psychedelic visuals, a weirdly beautiful soundtrack, and the kind of vibe where you feel like you're floating, but also drowning. Think of it as an art house horror experience. And honestly, I didn't know I really needed that in my life until I watched this. But speaking of floating and weirdness, what if Justin Long, you know the guy, took an acid trip and accidentally made a movie about it? Yep, and that's what we're looking at next. Alright, so if you ever wondered what would happen if Justin Long and Donald Faison got together and decided to trip absolute face, welcome to the wave. This movie starts as a guy just trying to take a break from his boring life, but then it turns into a full-on reality-bending trip that makes you wonder if you accidentally took something too. And no, this isn't one of those movies that holds your hand and explains everything. Nope, it's gonna take you and throw you right into the deep end and let you drown in this beautiful weirdness. Imagine if Inception had a love child with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. There you go, you're halfway there. But what makes The Wave extra weird is that it's surprisingly dark under all the trippy nonsense. Sure, there are going to be moments where you'll laugh at how insane things are, but there's also a real story underneath about bad choices and regret. And my gosh, we know we do those on a daily basis. And what about Justin Long? I mean, we're used to seeing him in Dodgeball or just some slapstick comedy, but here, he's in a full meltdown mode. So, if you're in the mood for something that makes you question reality and make you say, dude, what did I just watch? This is it. But if you think that's as weird as we're gonna get, no, absolutely not. I promised you 10. And next up, we're gonna look at Johnny Knoxville showing up in a horror movie, and I gotta tell you, it's a lot to handle. Next up, we have We Summon the Darkness, which starts out like every teen metalhead's dream. It's a group of young people head into a metal concert looking to party like it's 1989. And absolutely, for the first 20 minutes, you'll think you actually clicked on Dazed and Confused. But then things are going to take a turn. And I'm not talking about just a bad hangover. I mean people dying, blood splattering, cult activity, the works. And if you ever wondered what Johnny Knoxville would look like in a horror movie that's not a prank show, he's in this one. And weirdly, it works. What I love about this one is that it's a mix of fun, ridiculous, and downright brutal. One minute you're vibing with the soundtrack, and the next minute you're realizing these girls aren't who they say they are. Plot twist? Absolutely. If you want something to throw on during Halloween or just one evening that's gonna make your friends laugh 1 second and scream the next, We Summon the Darkness is a solid pick. Just, you might not want to trust anyone at a concert ever again. But if you think that's too wild, wait until you hear about a movie so brutal it needed an uncut version just to properly mess with your head. That one is next. Okay guys, let's talk about a little movie named Possessor. I want to make one thing perfectly clear. You want to get the uncut version. Don't come back here saying, oh, it wasn't that bad, or I didn't understand that. Because if you didn't watch the uncut one, you missed half the trauma. This one is directed by Brandon Cronenberg, who is the son of David, Let's Scar Everyone for Life, Cronenberg. This movie is sci-fi horror on a whole different level. The plot, it's about assassins who literally hijack other people's bodies to carry out hits. Pretty cool concept, right? Well, yeah, that is until you see how it plays out. And then suddenly, you're sitting there questioning what's real and why you can't look away. What makes Possessor special is how deeply psychological and visually intense it is. Like, it gets under your skin and it just stays there. And let's not forget the body horror, because of course, a Cronenberg would include that. But it's not just about gore. It's sleek, it's beautifully shot, and the performances are insane. Imagine Inception, but instead of a mind heist, you're watching people's bodies get jacked and ruined from the inside out. If you want something messed up, slick, and heavy on what the heck did I just see, Possessor is it. Trust me, you're gonna need to take a shower after this movie, and maybe a call to your therapist. But speaking of disturbing, let me introduce you to one of my absolute favorite clowns that makes Pennywise look like a children's birthday performer. Yes, Terrifier 2, also known as Why Did I Eat Dinner Before Watching This? Now this is one of my personal favorite movies. I've been with Art since the very beginning. But if you're the person who thought It was too soft and you wanted something way more intense, welcome to your new nightmare. This movie is infamous for a reason. It brings back Art the Clown, who's like if Joker had a baby with Michael Myers and raised it in a basement full of knives. And listen, if you're gonna watch it, just go for the whole full version. This one needs every gut-wrenching scene to hit the hard way it's meant to. But here's the thing, Terrifier 2 isn't just mindless gore. Although let's be honest, there is plenty of that. It's also shockingly well made for an indie horror flick, which is probably why the series has grown in such popularity. The effects are gnarly in the best way, and there are moments that'll make even hardcore horror fans squirm. I'm not even kidding when I say this movie made headlines for making people literally faint and throw up in theaters. And I'm sure the director was high-fiving everyone about that. So, if you're looking for something that pushes horror to the absolute limit and makes you feel like you need a hug afterward, Terrifier 2 is it. But hey, don't say I didn't warn you. And if you're still standing after Art the Clown, let me throw in a Gen Z murder party that is both terrifying and unintentionally hilarious. Next up, we have Bodies, 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 which might just be the most savage takedown of Gen Z I've ever seen. And I mean that in the best way. You've got a bunch of young people trapped in a mansion during a hurricane, trying to figure out who's offing people one by one. But instead of solving anything, they just gaslight each other, scream, "You're toxic," and start dishing out more verbal damage than actual murder. It's like Clue, but if everyone was an influencer with unresolved trauma. But here's why this movie works. It's actually smart. Sure, it looks like a bunch of TikTok stars fighting for clout at first. But underneath, it's a sharp commentary on cancel culture, fake friendships, and how nobody trusts anyone anymore. It's real life. I mean, it really is. Plus, it's hilarious in a, wow, I can't believe they just said that kind of way. You'll spend half the movie laughing at the absurdity, and the other half realizing, oh no, this is exactly how people act now. If you want a horror movie that makes you think while also giving you a bit of that murder mystery thrill, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies delivers, and then some. Now, let's take it a little bit weirder because it's time to talk about the one you know that was coming. The woman who gets pregnant by a car. Yes, you absolutely heard that right. Let's get into that one. All right, guys, buckle up. That pun was fully intended because Titane is next, and this is where things go from weird to what in the actual heck am I watching? First off, yes, the rumors are true. This is the movie where a woman gets pregnant by a car, and before you think, oh, like Fast and the Furious but rated R, absolutely not. No. This is more like if David Lynch directed The Fast and the Furious, and instead of drag races, it's a full-on body horror meltdown wrapped in a psychological trauma. But here's what makes Titane even crazier. It's not just about her, special relationship with a Cadillac from hell. There's a serial killer storyline, gender identity twists, family trauma, and some of the most beautiful yet disturbing cinematography I've ever seen. You'll be watching 1 minute thinking, wow, that shot is absolutely gorgeous. And the next, oh my God, why? It's graphic, shocking, and completely unhinged in a very brilliant kind of a way. And it's not one of those movies that everything is given to you. You have to connect the dots. So if you want to watch a movie that will have you questioning everything, Titane is that movie. And you'll never look at a car commercial the same way ever again. Now, let me ease up on the gas pedal and give you something just a little bit lighter. Well, kind of. It's a werewolf movie that is also kind of a comedy. Everybody say, yes, please. Okay, so after all that car pregnancy madness, The Wolf of Snow Hollow might actually feel like a bit of a breather, but don't get too comfy. This is a werewolf horror comedy that flips the usual formula on its head. Instead of your typical monster on the loose plot, we get a grumpy small-town cop played by Jim Cummins who's having a complete mental breakdown while trying to solve what might be werewolf murders, or maybe just some very angry people with sharp teeth. You never know. Either way, he's not handling it well, and it's hilarious. What makes this one work is the perfect mix of dark humor and genuine mystery. Like, yes, people are getting ripped apart, but you'll also find yourself laughing at how completely unhinged the sheriff is as things spiral out of control. His rants are next level. Think Larry David if he was a cop hunting monsters, and you're getting close. And let me tell you, for a small indie film, the suspense and gore are way better than expected, making this a total hidden gem. If you like your horror with a side of, what is wrong with this guy? The Wolf of Snow Hollow will deliver that and then some. But don't get too comfortable because my number one pick is coming up next. And it's about the ultimate hot mess of a human being in the most awkward, cringeworthy, and oddly hilarious way possible. Finally, my number one pick, Red Rocket, also known as watching this guy self-destruct in real time, should not be this entertaining. This is a story of a washed-up adult film star played by Simon Rex in quite possibly the best performance of his life, and that's not a joke, who rolls back into his tiny Texas hometown with zero money, zero shame, and zero life plan, like far too many people I know in my life. Anyway, that's another story. But instead of getting his act together, he just burns every bridge he ever had, but does it with so much charm you almost want to root for him. Almost. This dude is the human version of a car crash. Horrifying, but impossible to stop watching. What makes Red Rocket amazing is how real it feels. Like this isn't some Hollywood glossed over story. It's gritty, awkward, and filled with real people playing themselves in many scenes. The dialogue feels like conversations you've overheard in the back of an IHOP or Denny's at 1 a.m. And Simon Rex somehow makes this awful guy likable enough that you stay on board just to see how bad he can mess up next. It's funny, it's sad, it's weirdly heartfelt, and it makes you think about all the people you knew growing up who never quite got it together. If you're a fan of movies that make you laugh and cringe in equal measure, Red Rocket is an absolute must-watch. Just be ready to feel a little gross about rooting for him. And if you've made it this far, congrats. You're now emotionally scarred, but also highly cultured. You are welcome. So, which one of these are you brave enough to watch? Or did I miss a movie that's even more disturbing? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you want more lists like this, hit that subscribe button so we can keep ruining our sleep together. Alright y'all, thanks for hanging out with me today. That's the end of the list. Now go forth and traumatize yourselves. We'll see you in the next one.